Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. Here with my guy Arjun. We just got back from the third day of training camp, so we're going to talk about some things that we observed in terms of formations and usage and things like that, and then also talk about some players that stood out today. So Arjun, how you doing today, man?
Great, pretty hot outside, but finally got to meet Steven for the first time, so that was pretty awesome. And we were right up against the fence, so we kind of saw all the action and everything that we could. Took a lot of mental notes, but yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how hot it was, right? Like, because I think everybody kind of looks at, oh, it's 80 degrees. But it was really hot. I'm really sweaty. Don't smell very good. So sorry to Arjun about that one. But let's start with some players that stood out today. I think both of us are on the same page about who we want to talk about first. And that is linebacker Kaiser White. So what did you see from Kyzir today? And some potential looking forward to like his usage and things like that.
Yeah, so number one was, it seems like when the Chargers went nickel, so they ran three corners and then two safeties, it looked like Kyzir was the second linebacker instead of Drew Tranquil, which I thought was pretty interesting, even because when the Chargers only went two corners, so they were in their base package, Tranquil was the starter, but when they went nickel, Kyzir came on. And I mean, Kyzir he had such a great day today. He had a pick against Easton Stick. He had two pass breakups in the flats and in coverage. And ultimately, he looked faster. He looked like the 2018 version of himself. And, I'm super excited to see how Staley uses him. But overall, I mean, he was pretty much being used as the nickel backer, which is kind of what I was expecting from him. But I didn't expect him to run with the ones as much as he did, because it seemed like Tranquil and Staley had such a good relationship together.
Yeah, that was definitely a surprise today with how much Kyzir was rotating in with the ones instead of Drew Tranquil. Most of the time, Kenneth Murray was also on the field, right? So looks like, Kenneth Murray's going to stay on the field quite a bit, which is obviously good news. Really excited to see him, fly around. And he did make some plays in the run game too. But I don't think any defensive player in terms of the back seven, the back, players, back rotation, whatever, had a better day than Kyzir White. So, I'm definitely not overstating things. Like Arjun mentioned, he had an interception. He had two pass breakups. Looks really, really explosive, which is obviously really good news for the Chargers. The more weapons that Staley can use, the better. So anyone else on defense stand out to you today, Arjun?
I think Faison had a pretty solid day. I think there's a video on Chargers Instagram and Twitter that shows Tyron Johnson had the deep throw. But Faison had pretty good coverage, and I mean that was that one throw Mahomes made. Against it, you just put it in the perfect spot. And Herbert would have got sacked that play anyway, and Wosu had him down. But I thought Faison played pretty good, and it's interesting that he's running with the ones. He's the outside corner when the Chargers go nickel, and we should have expected this given how much Staley, Ronaldo Hill, and Derek Ansley have hyped him up. Right. And it's not a bad thing. I think in the NFL, there's two positions where you can never have enough players, and that's receiver and cornerback. Right. And the Chargers' depth was exposed last year when Hayward went down, when Harris went down. So if Faison can step up and become the outside corner opposite Michael Davis instead of Asante Samuel, I'm for it. And he's showing that he's playing pretty well right now in training camp.
He is, and I think he's a much more willing tackler than Michael Davis is, and some of the other cornerbacks. So that's a fun element that the Chargers can mess around with. We didn't see a whole lot of plays being made by the safeties in terms of Derwin James and Nasir Adderley. Derwin, barking around and communicating quite a bit. That's definitely something that you notice. But in terms of defensive players, those two were the ones that stood out. The play to Tyron Johnson, great play by Herbert, great catch by Tyron Johnson. But yes, he would have been sacked, which, we kind of laughed about because everyone starts getting hyped and starts cheering, and rightfully so. But it's but he would have been sacked in real life. So definitely funny there in terms of, how the passing game excuse us. Looks like we had a little connection issue there. Hotel Wi-Fi is not great. So let's talk about Tyron Johnson, because he was all over the place today, making plays. He caught a couple of screens. He had the deep ball from Justin Herbert. It seems like he has really kind of taken the lead. Obviously, it's very early, but I think he just gives the Chargers something that Jalen Guyton and Josh Palmer can't. Looks like we're struggling a little bit here. But, that's no shade to Jalen Guyton or Joshua Palmer. But it does seem like to me, based off of everything we're seeing and hearing, that Tyron Johnson is kind of beginning to separate himself from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, I agree. And I think his explosiveness, there's a difference between speed and and quickness.
Yeah.
Right. I think the best comparison is like Henry Ruggs has speed, but he's not a Tyreek. Like Tyreek has that short field quickness. I think Tyron Johnson has a better short field quickness than like a Jalen Guyton.
Yes.
And so after the catch ability, Guyton's good when like he has a step, but can he make a person miss here and there? I think T-Billy is a little bit better than that. We also saw Johnson in kick returns today. Johnson and Guyton with Pearl. So that's good to see because I think Tyron Johnson, like outside of after he catches the ball, he's pretty good at making people miss. So I'm happy to see him get some run there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned his short area quickness because if he can be a deep threat and also give you some yards after catch in the short area, do some fun things in the screen game, I think obviously that will help strengthen his case because that's not who Jalen Guyton is. Unfortunately, Guyton did struggle with some drops today, and so did KJ Hill. KJ Hill had a tough day at the office. Popper said that he had a really good day yesterday, so I was kind of looking forward to watching him. But I tweeted out he was run blocking on a pass play.
Yeah.
So tough day for KJ Hill today,
and a lot of mental errors. I think he had a play where he ran the wrong route. Herbert was talking to him after. Yeah. It didn't really look like he was on his stuff today. Just could be an off day. Everyone has those days. I think the last person I want to bring up, Jared Cook.
Yeah.
He had a really, really nice like back shoulder catch like above his head of over Nasir Adderley when they were running the red zone drills. I thought he looked pretty good. His hands are as good as like I think people are better than people give him credit for. Like I think people want to talk about the fumble he had in the divisional game, but if you're criticizing a player off one play, then you're not giving him the full respect that he deserves. So I think he's looking really good. A mismatch in the red zone, and the best part about that play was they had Parham on one side, or they had Parham and Cook lined up together, and that's a 6'5", 6'9" combo, right? So I'm super excited to see how that was. I think Parham also caught a touchdown in that red zone drill. So both of them pretty solid days, and obviously I think Cook has cemented himself as the number one tight end.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully expect Jared Cook to lead this group in terms of targets. But the rotation was fairly even. Trey McKitty was rotating in there with the ones on occasion as well. Steven Anderson got a couple plays in there. So all three tight ends, potentially four, could have a role. It was fun to see how they use the tight ends, right?
Yeah,
because I think that's, you can put Parham and Cook on the same side, and that's a big time mismatch nightmare. So on Parham's touchdown, which I think was like the third play of the 7-on-7, they had Parham and Cook on the same side. Parham ran down the seam, and Jared Cook kind of ran like an out route. So, create some mismatches. The Herbert's throw to Parham, man, like that was a laser. Hit him right on the money. The guy covering him, I think it might have been Kenneth Murray.
Yeah, I think it was also.
Murray had no chance to make a play. Like, couldn't even get his head around. The ball was just there so quick. So, impressive day from Herbert throwing the football. His ball placement is just so good, and the arm strength is so noticeable from anyone who is there watching.
Yeah, the arm strength is there. I think I will say from my end, I thought there were a little bit of accuracy concerns. He had a stretch where he had like 3 straight incompletions. A bad throw to Justin Jackson in the flats, an inaccurate pass to I think it was Mike Williams. And honestly, I haven't seen Mike Williams get a ton of targets. It's pretty early on, and it's not like the offense is running 10 play drives. It's only like 5-6 plays with the ones. But yeah, if you want to transition into what we saw from the offense, a lot of different formations. Eckler lining up out wide, Eckler running or going in motion. Neighbors was lining up in the wide tight end right next to Cook. Caught a pass there. T. Billy's lining up in the slot. I will say I think Guyton played a little more with the ones than T. Billy did, but it could just be personnel based, just testing it out. But he was the main target. T. Billy did have more catches than Guyton did, so pretty solid day there.
Tyron Johnson was definitely more involved. Jalen Guyton's not going to go away, right? I think his connection with Justin Herbert is obviously something that can kind of carry over. But yeah, not a whole lot of love for Mike Williams today. I felt like in general, it was kind of a tight ends day.
Yeah, it was.
Because even the backups, Chase Daniel and Easton Stick, they threw a couple balls to Hunter Campmoyer. Arjun mentioned Gabe Neighbors caught a pass too. So just kind of seemed like a tight end today.
Yeah.
Tight end day today. So definitely going to be interesting to see how those ones pan out. I pointed out Hunter Campmoyer did have 3 targets today. He dropped one, which was honestly the best pass that we've seen from Easton Stick. In my opinion.
Right on the money and like in stride. I thought he would have got popped in a real game, but just, like, but it was a really good pass, and just kind of like let it go through his hands there.
Yeah. So tough one, but it definitely seems like the backups are kind of favoring Hunter Kampmoyer. The other receiver from the backup group that kind of stood out was actually Jason Moore.
Yeah, he had a good day today.
Jason Moore had a good day today. He had 3 or 4 targets from the backups. A lot bigger in person than I originally thought. He's a good route runner, not a great route runner, but if he can kind of carve out a really nice connection with the backups, maybe he surprises some people and ends up making the roster. I remember the previous staff kind of praised him for his blocking ability, which obviously can lead to a role on special teams and things like that. So we'll see what happens with Jason Moore.
Yeah. I don't trust the old staff because I posted a picture on Twitter like where the Chargers and Bucks are playing, and like Herbert was surrounded by 4 defensive players, and Jason Moore like missed the block and the safety.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna hype him up too much. He's been on this roster for a couple of years now. Yeah. But yeah, I will say he had a solid day.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about the defense, right? So just like me and Tyler talked about on the first day, it's just a lot of moving pieces, and it's like the thing that I thought was most interesting. Staley always talks about he wants the one-on-ones in the run game, so he's always lining up 5 guys along the line. Like I'm not sure if you want to categorize it as like a 5-1, 5-2, or if you want to call it as like a 3-3, 3-3-5, or a 3-2-5 or 3-2-6 or something like that.
Yeah.
But the Chargers, it seemed like they always had 3 defensive tackles. So like Jones, Tillery, and Linval, Bosa, Nwosu, or Fackrell, Nwosu, or Rumph, Fackrell. Yeah. They always had 5 guys there to stop the run. And I mean, I think you can agree with me on this. They had like 0 running room. Yeah. And it's crazy because, in a single high safety, you have the extra guy in the box, but the Chargers were not that great against the run in some games, like the Patriots game got ran over by James Robinson against the Jags. Yeah. But even though they have 1 less guy in the box, it looks like they're better at stopping the run. So, I think it's a lot of credit to Staley and Ronaldo Hill. They put together a good defense, stopping the run, and you're going to need it when you're going against like Javonte Williams and Josh Jacobs this year.
Yeah, absolutely. In general, like you got to still be able to stop the run. I think obviously it's a passing league, right? But you still got to be able to stop the run. And Christian Covington, he rotated in quite a bit with the ones as well. So we kind of talked about on Wednesday, it seems like Christian Covington, Kaiser White, and Brandon Faison are kind of the 3 main players who will rotate in, and you can talk about, you can throw Kyler Fackrell in there as well. But like we talked about before, it's so hard from an offensive lineman standpoint to block these guys when there's no pads. There's nothing to grab on to, which is a huge thing for offensive linemen. But, defense still has to stand out. I know a lot of people were asking us about, how the rookies looked. I didn't see a whole lot of Chris Rumph today. Yeah. He was very active on special teams, but he's been getting some praise from the coaches, which is obviously notable. And then Asante Samuel Jr. did rotate in with the ones a few plays. When he did come in with the ones, he was in the slot.
Yeah, and that was noticeable. And
Chris Harris was either, at safety or, Chris Harris would come off and Brandon Faison would stay outside. So that's a very interesting thing considering we kind of viewed him as an outside corner. But, when he's with the ones, he's been in the slot. When he's with the twos, he does play outside. But when he does come in with the ones, he has been playing in the slot a little bit more.
Yeah, agreed with Steven there. Derwin was in the slot a little bit. We talked about it on a Wednesday. I think that's a possibility when you're going against Travis Kelce and Darren Waller. Chris Harris at safety, he's pretty much playing like that positionless role, him and Derwin, which I think is really good. Keep the defense guessing, is Derwin on the line of scrimmage or is he in the back end, right? It helps, it keeps the offensive line guessing, keeps the quarterback guessing, all about disguise, which I think is super important. So yeah, great job by Staley there. Interested to see, how many more players move around. But yeah, Asante in the slot, I think that's definitely something to keep a watch of.
And I mean, everyone's going to rotate spots. It really seems like Michael Davis is kind of the only one that doesn't really rotate a whole lot. Michael Davis kind of stays outside.
Boundary.
He had a pass breakup today as well on Keenan Allen, which was a really good play by him. But yeah, Chris Harris was not lying. Like he's going to be moving around a lot. Everybody kind of just views him as like a slot and outside corner, but he was deep safety quite a bit today.
Yeah, he was.
And that just gives the Chargers more options, right? So Derwin moving around, Chris Harris moving around, allows Brandon Faison to take some reps in the slot. Asante Samuel Jr. take some snaps in the slot. So a lot of moving parts in the secondary today.
Yeah, I'm going to add one last thing before we, I think, start wrapping up. I did see a really interesting formation, which is a college formation. It's a 3 safety look that Iowa State has not perfected, but it's become a part of their defense.
Absolutely.
It was Nasir, Gilman at the 2 safety spots, and then Derwin in the slot with, I think, Chris Harris. So it was like their dime package. Yeah. So you had Derwin at dime backer and Chris Harris at nickel backer, and they ran 3 safeties, which I thought could be a really fun way to stop probably a 3rd down package, 3rd and long, I would assume, just you want more guys who can cover.
Yeah.
And Staley's always talked about adaptability, and he has a lot of college coaches, right? Like Derek Ansley's from Tennessee. He's bringing those college roots over, a lot of those college concepts. So the 3 safety look I thought was super, super interesting. It was only for like 2 plays, but
But I mean, that's absolutely a good call. If Staley wants to bring in some college ideas, I know the Carolina Panthers brought in that 3-3-5 look quite a bit last year. Did. So it's a passing league at the end of the day. So if you can find ways to get 6 defensive backs on the field and not lose, your ability to stop the run, I think that's a good call. It was interesting that it was Gilman today. Apparently, it was Mark Webb yesterday.
Yeah.
So those 2 will be rotating. There's a lot of rotating going around in general. Like Easton Stick was the 2nd quarterback with the 7-on-7, and then in the 11-on-11 portion, it was Chase Daniel. So obviously, position battles are going to be happening all around. Anyone else in terms of like positioning or like rotating that kind of stood out to you today?
No, I think we covered everyone.
Yeah. So a lot to look forward to today, and tomorrow, of course, the big day, which I think is going to be, if I remember right, it's going to be their longest practice. So if you're able to make it out, absolutely, check on Twitter if there's still tickets for anybody. Arjun, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, and I'll see you tomorrow with Tyler. We should have pretty good coverage of the whole thing tomorrow. I read a lot of videos and a really good recap.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure and check us out on Twitter. Make sure to follow Arjun, who is doing a great job with all the analytics and stuff like that. And let us know in the comments what you guys think. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, all that good stuff. Thanks, guys.